Mike continues down this sort of dark path that he's been that he's been going on, only because, you know, it's a year later, but there are repercussions and consequences for the essentially the kidnap, torture, and murder of the prisoner that we had in the last episode. That just doesn't disappear, and so you know, there are consequences for Mike, and but that's what I loved about the first season, where he went. And you know, what I really loved about it is I thought was sort of interesting was I felt like Mike's journey, the way that he was being beaten down and sort of hardened, mirrors what happened to Ryan Hardy in the first Joe Carroll case. And so I think it'll be interesting to see in the second season how far Mike falls, dealing with the loss of two partners, the potential like sort of inquiry or whatever about this murder, torture, whatever, to see how far he falls. You know, does he fall all the way down the rabbit hole? Does he stop? I'm interested to explore whatever that will be. And at this point, I don't know what level, how far, but I think it'll be interesting to see that. And to see how Ryan maybe potentially helps Mike, how he lets him fall, doesn't know how to interact. Like, it'd just be interesting. I think these guys have a great, solid bond now, and they're not the kind of guys that are going to go out for a beer and necessarily tell each other how much they like each other, but that bond is there now. That trust is there. They've gone through the fire, and I think that moment where Weston, in the Fight Club episode, where he tells Roderick that he doesn't know where Claire is and essentially sacrifices himself for Ryan's love, basically. That's the moment where, you know, I think Ryan truly begins to trust Weston and realize, you know, what this guy's made of. You know, so I think it's a great setup for where this relationship between the two of them can go.
So it was a pretty shocking first season. What during the first season shocked you the most?
Every episode, there's something I was like, what? Oh my God.
Shocked you about your character?
Well, I think, I'll go to the things that shocked me were in the pilot. The twist at the end shocked me. I mean, that's what made me really want to do the show. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Troy Riley being killed in the third episode, I did not see coming. The Deborah being killed, I did not see coming. I mean, the death upon death upon death. I was like, okay, this is crazy every time I read it. But about Mike, about my character, I thought was shocking. There wasn't anything that was shocking to me because I didn't have any expectation. I didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't talk about it. You just trust Kevin Williamson to hand you a script and a character arc that you can follow and connect the dots with, and just roll with it, you know? And we work on the fly on this show. We really do. So I don't know if there's anything that specifically shocked me about what happened to Mike. There were certainly things that I thought were incredible and I was excited about, but, you know, I guess the Fight Club thing was really interesting. That little nugget of information we get about what Mike's past was. You know, as an audience, you don't really know anything about Mike. You only see Mike at work. You only see Mike involved in the case. So that was like a nice little nugget about where he comes from, who his family is, and what he's made of. You know, I think that was kind of a cool moment that I was like, I like Weston. You know, I like him right now. So
that's what I was going to ask. Are we going to learn more about his backstory?
Yeah. I think from what I've been told, you know, the first season was really a manhunt, right? Like every episode was basically a day or two, and so the pace was frantic. And from what I've heard, you know, the show's going to have a little room to breathe. So in that sense, coming at it from a different angle, it's not necessarily the manhunt where the FBI is constantly chasing the followers and they're always a step behind. So yeah, I think we're going to find out a little more about all the characters and Mike as well. So whether it's family flashbacks or how we're going to figure it out, there's definitely more character development this season. Yeah, even with that, I think with backstory stuff, yeah, we're given that. But like input, I don't know. We just sort of like talk about it and then do it. I'm never like, you know, I'd like Mike to go here, or it's very mapped out. Kevin knows exactly where he wants everybody to go at what time, and I just trust him. I think you really want to give input if you're not comfortable with where it's going or you don't understand a character's motivation. You're like, well, why don't we do this? Like I said, I've never not been able to connect the dots with Mike, so I just trust Kevin to deliver a great script and an interesting character arc, and I just do it. Yeah, it's exciting. Awesome. You know, Kevin is obviously an amazing actor, and the thing that impresses me every day is that 15 episodes, Reinhardt he's just put through the ringer, emotionally, psychologically, physically, and Kevin has to hold that that intensity, that vulnerability, that gruffness, like all those things, all these different layers. And I think with another actor, it might become repetitive. You might get sick of seeing this. And even when I watch the show, I see different layers that Kevin's bringing in each episode. It's subtle, it's just little shades. And that keeps the consistency of the character while still keeping it interesting for an audience. And as an actor, you play similar types of scenes with actors throughout a season, and he's always bringing something different. And it's amazing to watch, and it's just fun to work with an actor like that. So yeah, it's very exciting, and I'm lucky that I get to work with Kevin every day. It's cool. I got on a good show.
What would you like to see for Mike?
I'd like to see Mike. I think I'd like to see Mike fall a little bit and have to pull himself out. I think what's going to be interesting is a year later, I'm assuming that there's a little more peace in their lives, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens when these characters who assume that they have a bit of a breath of fresh air and have backed away from this intensity, this violence, this death, this awful, evil case that they've been living in, how to react to that when they get thrown back in. I sort of think of it like a soldier thinking they're coming home from a tour of duty and then being asked to jump right back in. And psychologically, what does that do to you? Oh my God, I made it, I'm safe. And then being asked to go back into that, I think is kind of an interesting thing to explore. And maybe, I don't know, psychologically, I don't know what it's going to do to these characters, but I think it's going to be pretty intense.
Last question.
With so many, with Deborah dying and so many characters gone, do you know what new characters are going to be interacting?
I don't. I know sort of very broad strokes, but I don't want to give that away because I'm not even sure if they're going to come. It's still in discussion. I know that there's no new actors cast yet, so it's not as if the characters are solid, the actors are cast. I think they're still sort of working on that stuff, and I just don't know yet. So, but there are going to be new characters. There's certainly a new influx of good guys and bad guys.
When do you start shooting?
August. I think mid-August maybe. So.